Well, is the camera there? It's going to be panning so that it looks at you on this side and looks at you at this side. There's two different views. Three different views. But we're going to keep them so that they can see the fronts of you. That's probably the best. Look at the audience. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Voters Forum for the school district board positions for 2023. My name is Renee Browse, and I am going to be your moderator and host for the Sherwood Chamber of Commerce this evening. Thank you, candidates, for being here, and thank you, public, for being here. Recognize our elected officials. I see we have Kim Young in the audience as well. Thank you for being here, Kim. And we have some board members for the Chamber of Commerce. I saw at least one. Chris is back there. Thank you, Chris, for being here. So we appreciate, first and foremost, the willingness of you all to be here and to share your viewpoints and your ideas that will help the community, the business community, the kids and the students, everybody to know where you stand on different issues. We do have a limited amount of time this evening to address questions. So I request, as we go about the process, that we keep things to the time frame and that we hold our applause until the end of the forum so we can hear as much as possible from each of you. In the back of the room, or actually outside the doors, you will see a table that has some information from some of the candidates as well as the levy. If you want to gather some of those materials, please do so. We have 3 students here tonight that will help in various capacities. So we have Heidi and Kaylee and Kennedy, correct? That will be helping with tonight's event. If we have time at the end of the evening, we will take some questions from the floor, but we ask that you write those questions down and put them in the bucket that's out there on the table. And we will choose a question at the end. If we do not get to those questions, we will have the students type those questions up into a document. I will circulate those questions to the candidates, and I will ask that those questions be responded to by Monday. If you've put your name and your email address on the form out there, I will send those responses to you, and I will post on the website as well as the Instagram and Facebook page, and then share with the school district as well to post in their forums. Just a reminder to all of us, the school board governs the school district by setting policy, hiring and evaluating the superintendent, establishing academic and financial goals, and approving financials, including budget, tax levies or bond measures, contracts, and other business transactions. If you want more information about the role of the board, you can find that at the board policy BBA, and I can send that link to you. So here's a brief overview of how the process will work. We did a draw for positioning earlier. So they're each seated according to their position. We have position 4, position 5, and then position 1, 3 candidates running for position 4, 3 for 5, and then we have a single candidate running for position 1. We will ask that each candidate share a brief introduction. They've been given 1 minute, and the students here will be timing them. The yellow card will be held when they have 30 seconds left. The red card will be held up when they have finished their time limit. And then Jeff will use his loud booming voice to stop the flow of the conversation. We do have 1 candidate missing tonight, and we have appointed a stand-in for her. And that is Crystal Arns, not here because she had an emergency surgery on Monday and is recuperating. Tanya Urbeck is her stand-in. She has been given the same rules of engagement as everybody else and will follow those. Miss Arn did send a statement in her absence. She said that she was because she's not here, she's unable to participate in the question and answer portion of the forum. So she has asked me to tell you that she promises to follow up with any questions the voters may have for her in the coming days through social media and her website. We've already drawn for order. We will start here and come around this way with the first question. We will go reverse order for second, third, fourth, and fifth. And we ask that there be no interruptions, that each candidate wait for their name to be called to respond. And I think that that is it for this point in time. Hans, did I see your hand raised for a question? Okay. All right. So without any further ado, we're right on time. And we will start with the first opportunity for you to speak, and that is to share an introduction about yourself. You have 1 minute, and we'll start with you.
Good evening. Oh, that's loud. I'm Harmony Carson. I'm the current appointed board member from October 2022. Currently sitting on the school board, and I'm running for position number 1. I currently have 2 children in the district, elementary school and middle school. I'm also an alumni of Sherwood, graduating in 1999. And my husband and I, he is as well. And we moved back in 2014 when our oldest started kindergarten. And I've been working in education and athletics for close to 20 years. And currently I'm at Lake Ridge High School right now, working in the athletic department.
Jeff?
Yeah, my name is Jeff Lee. I am a current board member, and I am running for position number 4. I have 2 children who have graduated from the Sherwood High School and 2 who are in middle school, and we've lived here since 2016 and have loved really every minute of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Lauren?
Hi, my name is Lauren Seislove. I'm a wife, a mom of 2, and I've been a registered nurse for close to 15 years. Currently have a 4th grader at Middleton, and my husband and I have an incoming kindergartner in the fall. I went to nursing school in Southern California at Cal State University, Long Beach, and I spent some time practicing in Southern California in the ICU and the PACU, or the Post Anesthesia Care Unit. And we moved to the Pacific Northwest about 7 years ago, and I spent many years working at OHSU, and I'm now at Providence Newburgh part-time.
Thank you, Lauren. Hans?
Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. Like to see some familiar faces, so that's great. Hans Moeller, and I am also position 4. We have lived in Sherwood since 2008. I have 2 girls, one in SMS, 7th grade, one 9th grader at Sherwood High School. And we have just enjoyed living here and participating in every way that we can with community, as well as a large part with schools. So I look forward to the questions, and thank you.
Thanks, Hans. Crystal? Well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Urbach. I'm here for Crystal Arn, and Crystal is running for position 5. She is a native Oregonian and has 3 sons in the school district, 2 are at the high school. You'll hear more in my remarks later, but she's been involved in the Sherwood community for a long time and has a tremendous passion for this community. And thank you for the opportunity to be here to speak tonight. Also, rest assured, she's recovering and expected to recover fully from her surgery. She just wasn't well enough to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Matt?
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Thornton. I have a son in Sherwood schools as a 4th grader. I've lived in Sherwood since 2006, I believe. And I'm a former teacher, and I'm a former teacher here from Sherwood. I spent 17 years in education. I'm now a software developer. And my wife and I live here in Sherwood because we love this community. We have friends in this community, and we love the schools. And I'm here to serve, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you, Matt. And Nat?
My name is Nat Hawkins. I've lived in Sherwood for 9 years. We've got 2 elementary students at Middleton and a middle schooler. Moved here specifically for this community. It's been everything that I've wanted it to be for the last 9 years. I've worked for 23 years leading diverse teams of engineers, product managers, and project managers to develop new products for the medical and aerospace divisions. It requires a lot of leadership and a lot of collaboration to hear all points of view and to produce products that work and that don't kill people. So my wife is a teacher, my mother's a teacher. Education is paramount to our economy and to everything in the United States. So I really look forward to keeping Sherwood at the level that it currently is and elevating it.
Thank you, Nat. Kaylee, you want to come up and ask question number 2? So this is your softball question, ladies and gentlemen. This is to get your brains flowing. All right. It's this one, and we're going to start this round with Nat. It's a 2-minute answer.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kaylee. What is your favorite activity to do in Sherwood and why?
Stumping me on that one. So I think going to the parks with the kids, our parks are amazing. We have all kinds of sports practices at the parks, but anytime it's been sunny like it has recently, it's immediately we're going to the parks. And I think it's amazing that we have so many to choose from. Just started playing pickleball on some of the tennis courts, and not just watching the kids play, but getting to do some of those activities myself. So yeah, that should be it.
Thank you, Nat. Matt, same question, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that attracted us to Sherwood was, the Parks Department is fantastic. We love all the trails, the nature trails, the skateboard park, and my son loves that. We love being outdoors. We ski, we ride bikes, and Sherwood is really just that perfect combination of just the right amount of city culture without being downtown Portland, and yet accessible to all the outdoors that we love. And I've got so many friends here in Sherwood that I couldn't imagine living anywhere else.
Thank you, Nat. Tanya?
Okay, this question was not on the list of questions that I was provided, but I will tell you what I know. Crystal spends most of her time away from work, both volunteering in the Sherwood community, and then also, of course, going to the various games and activities of her 3 children. Personally, she walks a lot through Snyder and the areas around Snyder Park, and she also spends a fair amount of time in the summers on their boat. So she would be outside probably more if she had more time.
Thank you for that. All right, Hans.
Okay, you must have sent me this question. Shandy's in the audience. She's going to kill me. She's going to throw a tomato at me. I love the Robin Hood Festival. Unbelievable. And no one in my family will go with me. I pick up the horse poop with everybody in the parade. I throw candy and I get dressed up. So you wouldn't know me. You wouldn't know me at the Robin Hood Festival. So be careful. And I am so glad it's back. It is a crazy time, and I just have a blast. And they disown me for that 3 days. Thank you.
Hey, the appropriate response would be cruise in Sherwood. It's okay. It's okay. Thanks for the response. It's all good. Lauren.
So if my kids were here to influence my answer, they would say Langers and Symposium. We are frequent Langers and Symposium family. But for myself, I love running on the trails with the fresh air and the trees. I am not native to this state, and so I am giddy every time I feel like I'm running in the forest, but we're in our neighborhood.
Thank you, Lauren. And Jeff?
Yeah, so I've spent hundreds of hours on the soccer fields, either coaching or playing or recovering from playing. And so I really enjoy that. We visit the dog parks with our dog on a regular basis and enjoy that. And I would concur. I think you'll probably find me oftentimes if you see somebody hiking up and down the Sunset or one of the streets, it's probably me with a backpack on and just warming up and getting ready for a hiking season and camping. So I love that part about Sherwood.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, Harmony.
I feel like this is a loaded question because my kids just want to go get coffee all the time. So it's either, Mom, can we go to Starbucks or Dutch Brothers? And I'm like, let's go to Target instead. No, we love the parks. Obviously, my son loves like the skate park and, walking through all the trails in Sherwood, obviously. And then the car show, the Robin Hood Festival, there's something for everybody, obviously. And then growing up here, I've been to 1,000 of them and it's awesome. And it's been great every time. So
Thank you for that. Great job on the softball question. Sorry about that, Tanya. Awesome. Audience, just a reminder, if you have a question that you want to pose to the candidates, please fill out the form at the back and put it into the bucket, and hopefully we will have some time at the end. We are tracking ahead of time at this point in time. All right, now for the meat. We're going to start with you, and we're going to go to the next question. You have 3 minutes to respond to this question. Why are you running for the Sherwood School Board?
why am I running for the Sherwood School Board? I've kind of had an unplanned professional and personal life with students and kids. Whether that was starting out coaching, back in 2004, and then working at the OSAA, and then facilitating state championships across the state in activities and athletics, and coaching simultaneously at the same time. And then raising my kids, helping volunteer, and then working in local school districts now in the athletic department. So every day, like many people in this room, I wake up and I help kids. And I wanted to exact that energy and that experience to my own children and to my own community, because every day I do it for other people's kids in a different town. And I wanted to do it for selfishly my children, but your children as well. And hopefully I come off as, someone that's familiar. I have generational ties to this town. My dad graduated, my mother-in-law graduated, me and my husband graduated here. It's kind of funny saying that now, but it's something to be proud of too, because we've watched this town grow from like 2,500 people to 20,000 people. And it's something to really be proud of. And I wanted to be a part of that and bring my familiarity and experience and my own personal, education that I got here and be able to share that and have reference for that as we grow the next generation.
All right, Jeff, same question. You have 3 minutes. Should we repeat? Are you okay?
I have it.
All right.
So I'm going to start with a story that I borrowed from my wife's experience. So she grew up in former East Germany, and she was actually voted class president, and she was not, after she was voted class president, she was actually not allowed to be president due to her religious beliefs. And when I heard the story, I found that interesting, but then she said, well, this was normal for me. This was a normal experience in our childhood. And it was normal for her to not talk about politics. It was normal for her to not share her beliefs about certain things in fear of either retribution or getting into trouble. And it's some of those concerns that I have about my own children and some of the children today in our society. There was a 2022 poll that asked adults, and they indicated that they were afraid, quote, afraid of sharing their political beliefs. 60% of adults were afraid of sharing their political beliefs in today's climate. There was another poll that 59% of New York high school students felt uncomfortable sharing their beliefs in high school. There was a 2023 poll that asked parents about their concerns regarding school. They said that the top 4 things were book banning, too much focus on race, transgender policies, and parents don't have enough say. And so these are some of the concerns in our nationally and overall that I'm concerned about, and that has spoken to me. Now, I work with a fundamental belief that nobody loves my children more than myself and my wife. And I also believe that nobody loves your children more than you do. And you understand, and understand your children more than anybody else will. And it is that fundamental belief that the family is the fundamental unit of our society, and that it's necessary to support that unit, and that the school, as vital as it is, and it is an extension of that family unit. I worry that some parents feel disconnected, and I want to reconnect those connections. What I've learned in the past year alone, serving on the board, is that more and more parents are feeling marginalized as the state forces more and more restrictions on the school. This hamstrings our superintendent and the very talented and capable teachers that we have at our school district, and into policies or curricula that that are not good for our children. So I think that's it, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, Lauren, same question.
So it sounds like I'm not alone. Many people here came to Sherwood for the family-friendly community that it is. And my family is no different. When we moved to the Pacific Northwest 7 years ago, we looked at many communities trying to figure out where we wanted to put our roots. And Sherwood stood out far above the rest for, like we talked about, our amazing parks, walking trails, and of course, our amazing schools. And so I had really high expectations when my daughter started kindergarten, and the experience we have had in elementary school has far exceeded my already high expectations. When she started kindergarten, she had Kelsey Runkle, Mrs. Runkle, and I remember thinking, I think we won the lottery right out of the gate. I cannot imagine that we are going to have as equally good of a teacher, in years to follow. And sure enough, first grade rolled around, and we had Amy DeBoer, who was also equally lovely, and it continued year after year. And it wasn't just the teachers in the classrooms, it's really an extension all the way through, whether it's the PE teacher, the office ladies, the educational assistants. It's a through line of just quality, caring professionals. And so now that we've seen how wonderful the schools are, and I also have a son that is going to be starting kindergarten in the fall, so I want to be able to give back to the community that's given us so much. And I also am vested in the continued long-term success of Sherwood schools, because I know 12th grade will be here before I know it, but when you have an incoming kindergartner, you're still have a long ways to go. And so this is where I'd love to invest my time.
Thank you, Lauren. Hans?
Yes, thank you. So I ran a little checklist in my head as I watched the board, watched the schools, watched my girls grow and develop in the schools. And the little checklist was, well, can I work in a team? Check. Can I be a team player? Have I been on boards, and am I on boards now? Yeah, check. Have I been to board meetings? Have I been to public comments with groups that have worked with the school board in the past? Yes. So I had a checklist, but then I said, that's not why. That really isn't why I want to do this. And so I dug a little deeper and realized it wasn't because I like the Robin Hood Festival, it was because I love Sherwood. So Sherwood is emerging and at a critical time to elevate all of us. And that, I believe, is my role, to bring us all to a better place. And part of that is the schools.
Thank you, Hans. Tanya?
Crystal Arn was inspired to run for the Sherwood School Board of Directors by her experience as a district parent for more than a decade, and by robust encouragement to run from the Sherwood community. She seeks to serve in a way that will unite parents, teachers, and students around a paramount goal of achieving academic success for our students. Crystal has no political agenda. In fact, her endorsements and funding are exclusively from local parents within the community who seek a common sense approach to school policy. She will bring an open mind and objectivity to the board, and will focus her efforts on healthy, student-centered decision-making that is inclusive, collaborative, and transparent, while being procedurally and fiscally sound. Recognizing the difficulties the school district, educators, and students are facing, having just come through such an unprecedented time, Crystal Arn pledges to be responsive and adaptable.
All right, Matt?
I've been an educator for 17 years. I'm now a software developer. But I spent 17 years in the classroom, and I am a huge believer in public education. I remember 2 years ago, right in the beginning of the pandemic, when it first started, and our kids were all brought home and we didn't know what was going to happen. I was so impressed with how fast our schools adapted to help our kids. I remember when it all of a sudden we became aware that our kids weren't going to go back to school that spring. And I remember the teachers getting in their cars, dressing up their cars like a parade, getting silly and driving down our streets. All the kids were lined up. We were still trying to figure out what social distancing meant at the time, but we got to wave at our teachers. And I was like, as a former teacher, seeing my former colleagues, seeing other teachers do this, I was like, yes, that's exactly it. That is exactly what educators do, right? They meet the needs of the students. So why am I running? Because I know that the best teachers means the best schools. I want to give back to my community. I want to support what we have here, which is an amazing school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And Nat.
So I've chosen to run for school board because I feel that the students' academic achievement in this community is extremely important. One of the key reasons why we moved here. I think that I think we're kind of at an inflection point in Sherwood right now. So we've done a great job investing in the new high school. The population has been growing year over year. But I think we're at a tipping point where we're either going to become great or we're going to stagnate. And I think COVID really kind of created that inflection point. I think that, artificially it created kind of a speed bump. And I really want to continue the momentum to get us over that speed bump. I want us talked about with the best school districts in the state of Oregon. And I want the best outcome, not just for my children, but for all of the children in this community. So with that in mind, we've seen around us a lot of politicizing, a lot of standing on the soapbox of school boards in different communities, specifically like our neighboring Newburgh school district. I don't want to see that happen. I want the focus to be on the children and on the education that they're receiving in this community, and that's it. So the reason I'm running is because I believe I can collaborate with anyone. I believe I can represent as many voices in this community as possible. We need to try to collaborate and work together to make everybody happy in this community. It's not about picking sides. The school board needs to work together. We all need to work together. And I feel that I've done that throughout my career and my personal life. And I feel that I would be an asset to the school board as a director.
Yeah. All right, that concludes that question. We will move on to the next question, and this time we're going to start with Nat and make our way that direction. That question is, what experience or skills do you bring to the position as a school board member? And you have 3 minutes to respond to that question.
All right, so primarily what I've spoken about in my experience is collaboration. So to design new products for the world, you have to be able to invent and come up with new ideas. You can't just take something that's old and rebrand it and sell it. You have to solve solutions. So that's been a cornerstone of my engineering and business background for 23 years. You really have to listen to all diverse opinions, and you have to have an open mind and willingness to hear those opinions and not be offended or anything like that. There's actually a science that we're taught in brainstorming and receiving all these ideas, and then carefully and methodically going through them and seeing what's viable and exploring how to implement them before making a decision. So I think I bring a very level head, a very pragmatic approach, a long approach of collaborating with large groups, large business organizations to achieve those goals. And I think that experience would be very beneficial to the community and for the board. I also feel that I make good decisions under pressure, as an EMT in high school, continued in high pressure environments. So I think that even if we are faced with some difficult challenges, that I'll be able to lead the board and continue moving forward and not be afraid in those situations.
Thank you. And Matt, same question.
I spent most of my life working in the field of education. As I've already stated, I was an educator for 17 years. as I was transferring my skill sets from education into software development, I found my next career working in an Amazon ed tech startup where I was working as a lead. So my education career started out with chalkboards, ditto machines, overhead projectors. And it ended working in a software environment where we were looking at machine learning and procedural algorithms to try to predict student pathways. Education changes, it changes fast, it changes rapidly. I'm a forward thinker. I'm also in business and I've studied overseas. I've studied in diverse communities like Saudi Arabia, China. I know what it's like to work in different communities from my own. I know I have the technical set to work with finances. I have the technical set to work with technical documents and documentations. But I think the most of the things that I bring to the board, I bring teaching experience, business experience. I brought strong academic background and I'm a forward thinker. And I think most importantly, I'm a strong believer in public ed.
Thank you, Matt. And on behalf of Crystal, Tanya?
Thank you. Crystal has been active in the Sherwood School District for the past 10 years. She has 3 children currently enrolled in the district. She has volunteered in their classrooms, been the classroom parent many times, and served on the PAC and PSO. In addition, Crystal's professional career includes over 15 years in pediatric healthcare, both in direct patient care and in management. Accordingly, Crystal has thorough understandings of the stages of childhood development and the types of physical and mental challenges children face with each stage. During a portion of her career in pediatric healthcare, Crystal also co-founded several successful businesses. She is currently the Director of Operations and HR for a tech company. As a manager, Crystal has honed her project and task management capabilities. She is adept at creating and managing budgets. And Crystal also has substantial experience managing and developing human talent. As Director of HR, it is incumbent upon her in her role to know and stay current on employment laws and regulations. If elected, Crystal will continue her passion for giving back to the Sherwood community, and in doing so, will leverage her wealth of knowledge and demonstrated abilities in child development, project, task, and change management, budgetary initiatives, and human resources on behalf of the Sherwood School District.
Thank you, Tanya. And Hans?
Thank you. Sure, I think that I started with our girls and my wife as well in preschool, through elementary, through middle, through high school, and we did a tremendous amount of volunteering, fundraising, tutoring students in math and reading. We got into trouble painting the Archie Glenn Library and fixing the gardens with John Walmuth. That was a story for later. And so we met many teachers. We saw how they taught. We saw how the environment worked, and then worked on trying to work with them to improve student experience. And on the other side of the coin, I was already.
No.
Jeez. Oh, 30 seconds in. Great. I was like ending. Okay, sorry. Confusion. On the other side of the coin, okay, geez. In my work life, I was the president of our orthopedic group. It was crazy. If you tried to corral 13 orthopedic surgeons, egomaniacs. So some experience with teams, experience on boards, and working collegially to try to find solutions. So I've worked on the bond, the previous bond, the levy campaign, campaigning, canvassing, phone banking. It's been a lot of fun, particularly the levy this time. It's astronomically complex and fun. Been to the board meetings and attended them for a number of years. So I think I have a background that is knowledgeable enough and astute enough to perform and work well on the team to really better the district and better where we're headed. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Hans. And Lauren?
Okay, so I come from a long line of teachers. My mom is a retired teacher. Her mom, my grandma, was a teacher. I was the first person in my family to do anything in healthcare, but my mom and I have often discussed the many parallels between our jobs as teacher and nurse. I liken teachers in schools to nurses in the hospital. We are working directly, whether it's with patients or students. We're really on the front lines. And so I really have a great appreciation for the work that teachers do. And I really believe teaching is more than just a job. It is a profession that leaves a legacy with students, not just in their academics, but really that lasts a lifetime in the ripple effect in their lives. I think we can all think of a teacher or multiple teachers that touched our lives, no matter how long we've been out of school. And so I want to encourage teachers because I think they need it now more than ever. And then as far as my experience in healthcare as a nurse, one of your key roles is to be a patient advocate. And so I have spent the last 15 years advocating for patients and their families, and I want to bring that same skill set to advocate for students, their families, and those working inside of our schools. And lastly, I, as a nurse, especially, for example, if you're working in the ICU and you have your patients, you are kind of at the center of the hub of who you are collaborating with. You are working with the doctors there might be multiple doctors on the case who may or may not be talking to each other. There is the physical therapist, there's the nutritionist or the registered dietitian, the lab, and there's a lot of coordinating. And at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's not about anyone on the board, it's about the patient in the hospital setting, or it's about our students in our schools. And so I want to be able to collaborate with those on the board to make our schools better.
Thank you, Laura. And Jeff?
So I was not a kind of the typical high school to college student. After high school, I joined the military. I served in the 82nd Airborne. And I could tell you as a young adult, there's a new perspective to life when you jump out of an airplane and there's a small cord that attaches you to a parachute, and you wonder whether it's going to open or not. And then you land in the trees and you kind of second guess your life choices. Okay, so there's an experience there of being deployed and experience other cultures. After my military service, I did use the GI Bill and went to college. I eventually earned my PhD in clinical psychology, where I focused on child, adolescents, and family. And I've focused on an expertise in that, in which I do mostly forensic work in the state of both Washington and Oregon. In that role, I often am working with vulnerable children and families oftentimes. And so I have an appreciation for these type of families in dire circumstances or challenging circumstances, and trying to understand their needs and coming up with solutions that can best meet the children's needs and their interests. I've volunteered in the community as a soccer coach, and I've coached a lot of students, many of them who have graduated and gone on to their own college, and some of them who are coming up. And so I have a real appreciation for the children who are in this community and going through school and making connections with them and seeing their bright faces. Sometimes when they turn red and they're running back and forth on the soccer field, they will wrestle with each other on the soccer field, and they'll be best friends afterwards. And so there's a real appreciation for that. And so having connected with the children there and seeing their growth and really helps me appreciate their experiences and the work that the parents are doing in the community. And I would say with those experiences, I've been working on the board, and I've been working with the board members, and we've had a number of challenges this last year. And I think we've worked and developed a really solid team, and we've worked together collaboratively. We disagree at times, but we come to a solution that makes sense for the community, and we're transparent with the community, and we work together. And I'll say,
Thank you, Jeff. Harmony.
So my experiences, I have 20 years of experience in athletics and education setting. I've been a staff liaison for countless committees while working at the OSAA and the executive board with our own Dr. Lyon, who I got to work with almost 20 years ago now, and our delegate assembly there. I've also served on the Transformation and Visioning Committee for the Ridges campus, and then followed that up with the rebranding committee for that school. I have lots of interactions as an athletic director, working in schools with parents and students and finding solutions and having some really tricky, passionate conversations. And sports brings out the most passionate of parents, I will tell you that. And if you can find a way to be screamed at and told you should be fired, then you are magical. And I have found solutions for all types of crazy, interesting stories, just working day to day. All types of crazy things come up working in a day-to-day scenario in a high school, I'll tell you that. And I know that I can bridge a gap between parents and the community and be a conduit to maybe help community members that are unfamiliar with how a school district operates and help bridge that gap.
Thank you, Harmony. Just a reminder, if you have a question that you would like to ask at the end of this, please fill out of the paper out back and put it in the bucket. Again, we are tracking ahead of schedule. We should be at 7:13 at this point in time. So our candidates are speaking very quickly. All right, how y'all feeling? Good. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. Harmony, we're going to start with you. Question is, you have 3 minutes to respond. What is your position on the education levy on the ballot for May 16th?
Well, I am absolutely pro levy, and I can really speak closely to this because I have watched this district grow. I was a part of that growth, and it grew in a rapid growth model for 25 years. And I don't know that Sherwood ever thought that that growth would stop. And I think a pandemic can do a lot of things, and it made that growth stop. And we're now at a point where we need to use the levy tool as a way to fund and keep Sherwood dollars in Sherwood. We are not doing anything that everyone around us hasn't already figured out. I work for a district that has used the levy tool for 20 years, and I wouldn't have my job at Lake Oswego if they didn't have that levy. So obviously I am pro levy. I also know that it helps us. It helps us in ways that I don't think people yet understand, and that we have been actually working with one hand tied behind our back for a very long time, and this gets us out of that. So I am very much pro levy, and it helps us to remain competitive with our districts that we are completely surrounded by that use it. We stay competitive with retaining our talent. We do not want to lose our teachers to districts that employ a levy while we do not. And I also want to keep our property values high because I live here too. So thank you.
Thank you, Harmony. Jeff?
So I would say it's probably not a surprise that I was cautious at first and slow to accept the levy. I was probably even vocal about a lot of concerns about the levy. I have since been persuaded. I think there's a couple of factors. One of the things is I wanted to be sensitive to not just my perspective of the levy, but the community's perspective of the levy, because I understand a lot of other people, this is going to affect people in different ways. Renters are going to experience it differently. Young new families trying to move in to Sherwood are going to be affected in a different way, and they have to take that into consideration. So I wanted to appreciate other people's perspectives as well, and not just my own. And so I was very slow to accept it. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to understand the pros and cons. So I actually made a list of the pros and cons. I think for me, the primary persuasive part of it for me was, I would say, the confidence in Dr. Lyon and the administration. I've had a number of conversations with them, and I can't underscore their dedication enough, their dedication to the community and the school district, of how conscientious they are that this is not their money to use. This is the community's money, to make sure that that the school district is saved and preserved, and not just that, but also excels. I see the levy as not a solution, and I think the administration sees that as well. I think it stops the hemorrhaging, and then gives us some time to breathe and take a look at solutions and problem solve and move the school district forward and make it the excellent school district and the desired destination that it's been in many years, for many years. And so I am cautiously optimistic about the levy. I believe that the administration is something to support, and I have utmost trust in them. And so that's my position on the levy.
Thank you, Jeff. And Lauren.
Okay, the levy, I feel like is the hottest topic in all of Sherwood. I am also very pro levy, in favor of the levy. I also had to do quite a bit of just learning about it and research. So I thought I would just share the things that I have learned from attending Zooms, talking with current board members, reading up on it, because I learned quite a few things along the way, and it was helpful in making decisions. So I was always under the impression that our local property taxes funded our local schools. So I thought Sherwood dollars in property taxes funded our Sherwood schools. And I think we all feel like we pay a good amount of property taxes, so the schools should have plenty of money. It turns out it's quite a bit more complicated than that. The reality is Sherwood sends way more money to Salem than we ever received back. There is a state calculation that is outside anything the school district has control over, and that is a whole nother 3-minute or 10-minute conversation. But just for the purposes here, we send more money to Salem than we receive back. We are actually currently the second lowest funded district in the state. It's actually below what the Oregon Department of Education, like per pupil, it's below what is the standard for quality education. As I would have been meetings, forums, Zooms, I was actually so impressed at how fiscally conservative we are. When I heard Gary Bennett say, yeah, we're gonna lose he's the CFO, we're gonna lose a custodian, but he was not complaining about it, but he's already emptying his own trash can at the end of the night. We are running lean in all the ways that we can. So the great news about the levy is Sherwood dollars stay 100% in Sherwood. So we have the opportunity to be the solution to our own problem, and we have the ability to maintain our current standard of education that just about all of us are here at Sherwood for, and really is the backbone of our community. Our great schools bring great families and this great community. And so that is why I'm for levy.
Thank you, Lauren. Hans?
Okay, Lauren, I want to give you, I can't applaud, but that was great. I must ask you, did Abby sign you up for the levy committee? No, it's too late. But it's never too late. It's never too late. What a great one. I love it.
Sorry.
She's responding to me. So I have 3 minutes, so I can say that. Yeah, that was wonderful. And I'm not going to re-echo your thoughts. I am pro levy. I was attending board meetings when I first found out about this. I'm not in the back room with the board. I'm not a board member. But what I'm going to give a shout out to is Gary Bennett, Abby, Jessica, and Jeremy. I mean, first meeting, this is our problem. Second board meeting a month later, here's some ideas and solutions. Third meeting, we've had our consultants in, we're done our due diligence, and this is our plan. Boom, boom, boom. And then another thing here, we're gonna, transparency is always, we were all, COVID, we were all hidden and shackled, and it was awful. And people were frightened and by themselves. And so they opened it up. This is to Jeremy and Gary, opened it up to community, town halls, call us, email us. They were over the top with responsiveness to questions, as you just gave the example. So where was I? I haven't seen a yellow card yet. So that's how I looked at it. I was shocked. I go, what? So we really are on the right track. The school board and the administration, and in supporting our teachers and our students for excellence, the ship is headed the right way. Needs fuel. Fuel's gonna be the levy. So I'm phone banking, I'm canvassing, I'm getting, already we've gotten things for the voters pamphlets that's out for the levy, support endorsements. And it's really been fun. And by the way, people on the levy committee here, I did another round today and I really feel good about it, talking to people. So maybe I'm deluded, I don't know, but thumbs up to levy.
Thank you, Hans. Tanya.
Crystal Arn is a yes for the levy. In fact, 1,000,000 times yes. Her advocacy and support for this levy is founded in her ardent support for our teachers, students, and parents. Crystal believes that we as a community have a responsibility to ensure that we have a high-functioning school district. Our school district is a pillar in this state and is a huge part of what makes Sherwood a great place to live and raise families. This levy will allow Sherwood to retain our teaching and staffing levels at all schools, to keep class sizes small, to maintain our extracurricular programs and athletics, and to allow for important programming, including career technical education and advanced placement courses. If elected, Crystal promises to ensure that the levied funds are used as stated and to promote increased academic offerings in our district, and further promises fiscal transparency.
Thank you. Matt.
Well, I'm not gonna echo everything I've just heard because I think we've all said we're supporting the levy. I was out also canvassing this weekend for the levy. Here's my. So I'm gonna throw out my script and I'll do something different. This really comes down to a wish that I have had as always being a teacher, and I think every teacher can echo this, is I wish we would finally fully fund public education, period, right? If the United States of America decided we're going to fully fund public education, this would never be a problem. The problem is we've been underfunding public education for decades, right? That's the problem. And we can talk about all the numbers. We can say, oh yeah, well, sure, we would get about $11,000 per student. Well, we know if we do an options day, we're going to get about 12 and a half. We'll be closer to with like, Tualatin, or like Oswego, which is over 13. Well, that's all great. But the problem is we don't fully fund public education. So I get it. It's a hard ask. Nobody likes it. But we need to fund our public education. We owe it for our kids. And let me tell you from a personal side, look, when funding gets tight, I was a math teacher for, like I said, I keep saying it, 17 years. It was a long time. I get it. When funding gets tight, we're not firing the math teachers typically, right? I got the job security. You know who we are firing? It's the music teachers. It's the theater. I was a music kid in high school, right? I'm sorry. I mean, I did the math. It was fine, but that wasn't what got me jazzed to go to school. It was music. I was a band kid, right? And that's important. If you're a kid who's afraid of public speaking, join theater. That's going to matter so much more than that calculus class you can retake in college if you decide you want to do that. I'm a software developer, an engineer. I don't even use calculus that much. Trig, sure, but it's so important. The levy, it means more than just, hey, we got to keep some teachers, which yes, we do. We don't want to lose our teachers. The best teachers mean the best schools. It really is that simple, guys. It really is that simple. We have beautiful facilities, but we don't have great teachers. That doesn't do much for our kids. It really comes down to these other things. What is it that makes our schools great? It's the fact that we have these opportunities. We have awesome sports programs. We have awesome theater programs. We have awesome music programs. Look what our drum corps did last year. The percussion. I mean, that was amazing. It's amazing. So for me, that's why it's important to support the levy, right? It's not to keep all of our math teachers.
Thank you, Matt. All right, Nat, you're up.
Not going to be the only dissenter. I 100% support the levy. I think that's saying something, actually, that all of the candidates that are here and all of us support the levy. Everyone on the school board supports the levy. Everyone here supports the levy. I do understand it takes some education. We're all confused when we first started reading about it. What I would say is so for some people, that's day one. When we were canvassing, we're knocking on doors. And I felt great that I was able to answer some questions and actually educate people on it, because that's the first time they're like, I don't know, I see it on the ballot and I have no idea what it means. So that could happen up until May 15th. So I would say is, it's always someone's first time hearing about this. Help educate them, send them to the levy website. It's very well explained, but take the opportunity tonight and just talk to any one of us, most especially Abby and Dr. Lyons, who will be able to educate you the best. But all of us understand it very well now, I think. So take that opportunity to answer your questions. I think we've been lucky with the funding we've been receiving as a growing community. I think the levy is right in this time. I think it's the right size. I don't think it's egregious. I don't think that it's greedy. I think it's the right thing that we need right now. So I would definitely support the levy right now. I would say in this community, so city council and the mayor taught me something, in that Sherwood has the highest students per household in the state of Oregon. So there are almost 20,000 people in Sherwood. 5,000 of them are students. So almost 25% of our population are the students. So not just the levy, it's students first in this community. So if you have time to volunteer, if you have time to go help at the schools, do that. Because, I've shown up to volunteer events after hours and there's like one PAC member carrying the full load. So I'm saying we still need that help. So it's not always just the levy. This time it is, but try to help as much as you can. The other thing I'd say is this is a time when more people in this community are going to understand the funding of public schools than we ever will again. So take the time now to educate yourself, because in 5 years, everyone's going to be confused again. All the new teachers, all the new parents are going to be here, and no one's going to understand, what we're paying for and how that works. So I definitely would say take that opportunity. Finally, what I would say is we definitely need the levy. The impact, if it doesn't pass, is even worse. Not only are we going to lose close to 50 teachers, but the teachers remaining are going to have increased class sizes. They're already talking about moving to a different school district if they're put in that position. So it's not just the 50 students. We could have attrition of close to double that, in my opinion. So, really take that into consideration. Like it was mentioned, it's not just about retention, it's retention of talent. And we need to keep the talented teachers here in Sherwood, even though our, yep. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well done, everyone. We're to our final question, at least of the planned questions or the prepared questions. This time you do have 3 minutes to respond. We're going to start with Nat. The question is, as a Sherwood School Board candidate, what do you believe are the top priorities for the Sherwood School District?
Okay, so academic achievement for the students obviously is top priority. So that trickles down to everything else. I think the next things that support that are the funding that we're receiving and the funding that we're using. So funding and budgeting, obtaining as much funding as we can from the state, the levy in this instance, and then having the transparent budgeting moving forward at the level that Jeremy has put in place. So we've never had this kind of transparency before, and continuing that transparency, I think, is critical. But having the funding to support a diverse array of curriculums and classes, as well as the funding to retain our talent. So talented teachers, administration, classified staff, as well as our superintendent. So, the school board gets to help in the process of selecting successor for Dr. Lyons when that day may come. So, our superintendent, our leadership is extremely critical, and I think that's a very important part, recruiting and retention of the directors of the school board. So I think that trickles down to having a diverse array of curriculum. So by having the funding and having the high school that we have and all of that, all the different resources there, we're able to have a lot of the other classes that maybe some communities don't. So a really good STEM program, CTE, career technical education, being able to have the trades as an option, all of the arts, languages, multiple languages, the sports that we have. I think that diversity makes a lot of people in the community happy to have that choice. And we are a public school system. So being able to give that to such a large community and a diverse community, I think having That is very critical. The last thing I'd say is behavioral and mental health support for students. After COVID, there have been a lot more challenges for students from a mental health standpoint and from a behavioral standpoint in the classroom. And I think the teachers are burdened with that right now. We need to have the right staff in the schools to handle that correctly, so the teachers can focus on teaching and on the academic portion of that.
You Nat. And Matt, same question.
Obviously, the one that comes to mind for everybody is going to be, we need some guardrails and some of our finances going forward, right? But I'm a numbers guy. This